In this video, we're going to break down my man Henner's overhead squat for you guys as a way to practice. If you guys haven't gone through and actually watched our full overhead squat breakdown, which is a little bit more of a detailed educational video on what to look for and exactly what it means, we want this video to be a little bit more practical. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to take a peek at a couple different angles of Henner's overhead squat, and then we're going to see what we find, right? And hopefully that's an opportunity for you guys to not only simplify the overhead squat, as sometimes it can seem a little bit overwhelming, but how do I actually use it in real life? And compare that to what I see here as well. And then if we find anything, which we haven't gone through and done, I haven't done the overhead squat with him yet, so I don't know. I'm gonna pick it up just as you guys do. But if we see anything, then we'll also talk about what we might do with it and how that also might translate into exercises like his real squat position when it comes to the gym. All right, so Henner, all I want you to do is I want you to focus on just about hip width, toes directly forward for me, all right? Just straighten those arms up overhead and just take your time. Let's get about 3 or 4 reps from the front of you just sitting back and down as deep as you can. And just a reminder for you guys, as you have clients doing this, encourage them to go slow. Everything is gonna look a little better if we slow down. But outside of that, we don't wanna over-cue it. So as we see this right now, guys, be paying attention. What are we looking for? Right, our 2 primary checkpoints here really are the foot and the ankle, right? As well as the knees from the front side. All right, let's go one more. And pause right there. All right, let's go ahead and come to the side now. I'm gonna have Henner face this way. Now from the back side, we're gonna look at LPHC, torso, and shoulder. So as you guys are looking, take note. Is there anything that jumps out to you? Or does it look pretty good for the most part? Good, nice job. One more time. And good right there. So you guys took a chance to see some things. And then let's do one where you're facing this way. All right, now although this isn't essential for the NASM exam, I like to see the posterior view because for one, it helps to confirm what might be going on at the feet and the ankles, and it's also helpful to see if there's any small weight shifts in the hips from the left to the right side. Let's get one more, and good right there. Nice job. So go ahead and show them your beautiful face again. We'll turn back around this way. So as you guys were going through, you might have, after all 3 angles, been like, Joe, I don't know, it looks pretty good. Just know that that is okay. All right, now, oftentimes it might not be what you see, but our goal isn't to dissect and just nitpick and try to find something if it's not obviously there. And I will say, definitely 99% of people that are gonna walk in the gym and work with you probably will not come in with as good of an overhead squat as Henner. Henner, what do you do workout-wise? Yoga, right? Are you yoga?
Yoga and some strength training.
He's also a yoga instructor. Strength training, obviously a lot of, isometrics, flexibility, mobility training. He moves pretty well. And as we talked about before, not a lot of major injuries. Good for him, because I have plenty. I took all his injuries for him. All right, so I will say, just from an overarching big picture view, right away, it was a pretty good looking overhead squat. And I think that's valuable for us to see here in the video too, because we just wanna know, are there gonna be any exercises that from what we see in this assessment, we need to explore further, right? Maybe we need to explore some other movements based on what we think might be overactive or underactive. Or are there any exercises where we're already in our head saying like, yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna do this with Henner. And for me right now, if he was coming in and working with me, none of those things stick out, right? None of them stick out right away. But we're gonna explore a few things anyways. So one, it's very, very slight. This is kind of getting into if we wanted to be as crazy nitpicky as possible. That even the idea, and even before we got on camera, when I cued him up a little bit to say, hey, toes forward was kind of like this, all right? So let's go toes forward again. So for me, oftentimes that just might mean, which is natural for a lot of people, that just even a barely toed out, 5 degrees, is probably just more natural for his standing hip posture, all right? Doesn't mean it's gonna limit us from a lot of exercises, but let's have you from the side. This is what I wanna show from the side. Give me one more overhead squat from the side, toes forward, arms up, and pay attention, let's look. Do we get parallel? We have, that's about as good as you're gonna find oftentimes with these parallel lines. Arms are pretty good at staying in line with our torso, which is what we're looking for, and that's pretty similar to the shin. Now come back up again and stay in that same position. All I'm gonna do is place these heel lifts behind you and have you do it again. And just one more time. All right, so the only thing we really got, the torso angle was good before. The only thing that did give us was a little bit more depth. Okay, so I would say go ahead and come up from that. From what we're seeing in here, arms down, I don't see any major restriction in the ankles. I mean, obviously it just makes sense. We're gonna get more depth for more people because it's gonna give us more on the hips. And one thing we were talking a little bit about before with like squat positions, just show us from the front side first and then from the side, give us just a slightly wider stance. Like let's say if you were gonna be doing some back squatting and you weren't gonna go super narrow. Don't worry about the hands overhead, just go right out in front now, because now we're just exploring like, okay, how might Henner actually squat? Good, let's go one more just like that. And I would say, okay, cool, from what we saw, he's not super limited, but a barely wider than hip position. He looks stronger here. Now, the great thing here is as people are doing exercises, ask how they feel. So how does this feel? Any better or worse? Yeah, comfortable, right? Which means that his hips are giving him that position. All right, so let's go ahead and see it from the side as well. And now you'll see a little difference in his depth. His depth was perfect for the assessment before, but you can see he achieves more hip range of motion here with that slightly wider stance. And good, go ahead and come up from there. So, you know, that was just an opportunity for us to look at, okay, relative to what we saw in the overhead squat, can we now take that and actually start coaching into exercises and exploring what his actual technique might look like? Because if you guys are doing assessments, especially in the first time meeting someone, it's an opportunity to coach them, all right? That's probably what they're there for, to figure out like, am I gonna feel comfortable with Joe coaching me? Is this something I'm gonna wanna continue to do long term? So don't get so caught up on the assessments that you miss out on the fact that like, hey, we're just trying to figure out what are we gonna do with this person in the gym? Can I showcase to them that I understand how the body moves? We can build some rapport in the process and give them a chance to be coached. So I'm gonna give him the royal fist bump here and sign Henner off on saying, at least from our overhead squat assessment alone, there's not any glaring issues that stick out, all right? So you guys might be like me and like a little bit jealous as you're watching the video. Feel free, guys, if you haven't, like I mentioned earlier, gone through and watched our full overhead squat assessment video, go do that. And you guys can also refer to the other links inside this video in the description to see some other examples of the overhead squat that may show a little bit different with Henner. I promise as you guys do this more, you get more experience doing it, it becomes much easier to pick up on things that matter and be able to do something with it when it comes to training in the gym.